Welcome everybody to the November edition of the Texas Teams Community Meeting. Appreciate everybody attending, and again, appreciate the flexibility for pushing this back a week so that we could honor our veterans on Veterans Day last Thursday. Let me get the chat up here in the meeting. As always, I want to thank the DIR. As we know, Joy Hall Bryant is no longer with the DIR. She took her retirement benefits and made a run for it. And so good for her. I think she served the state for 25 years and did some amazing work in the private sector before that. We have Mark Leavenworth from the DIR who has stepped into that role and is just back from paternity leave. So I want to welcome Mark back and congratulate him on additional responsibilities. I think maybe congratulations are in order.
Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so thanks to the DIR, as always, for partnering with us on this and really just helping to get the word out and just kind of being a thought leader around the use of Teams. And so there's lots to cover this time. Desiree earlier asked if it's okay for her to send the link to her intern to participate. And please feel free to forward the invitation to this to anyone. I've got my invitation a little bit messed up right now. I was having a problem where Outlook doesn't like it when you invite 500 people to a meeting. It just starts blocking down. And so we have about that many people on our interest list now. And so I had to set up a new meeting. And so you are probably seeing the recurring meeting saying the Texas Teams October meeting. I will fix that. And then and what I will be doing is I just go in. Usually I like to do a week beforehand and update that month's meeting to have the current agenda, what we're going to talk about. That way, if there's something that's particularly of interest, then you can make sure and tune in. So if you have people that you want to make sure that they're included, you can either forward the series to them or you can send them this link to the Texas Teams Community Interest List. This is a Microsoft form that you fill out and it will add you to the list. And then I will make sure and include you. I did see that there were a couple of people that had added themselves and I added them sort of last minute. So apologies if you just got invited to this meeting. So our agenda, I did a little bit of a switch around on what we were going to cover in what order, just because I wanted to allow some time for discussion after we kind of reveal some of the new things, some of the futures. And so the first thing we're going to talk about, now we're doing the welcome now, and we welcome Mark back, so that's good. We're going to talk about the latest GCC futures that have come out. There's been some really nice enhancements that have come out, and so I want to go through those. And then I want to talk about what was revealed at our Microsoft Ignite conference. The Ignite conference is held twice a year, and we have it in March and in November. And we made quite a few announcements about things that are coming in the future in the November Ignite conference. And so these are not things that we have today, but I really want to share some of the vision of where we're going with Teams. Some of it is just some really cool, nice features that will be added into the product. And then other are truly revolutionary experiences that you'll be able to have through Teams at some point in the future. Some of this is a few months away. Some of this is 6 months away. And then some of this is more like a year away. And then we're going to have an open discussion. As always, feel free to put questions in the chat. Come off of mute and ask your questions. We don't hard mute this meeting, and all are welcome to chime in. Keith and Greg usually keep an eye on the chat for me and help me know when someone has asked something. So, but I know Keith is having some problems with his meeting today. So we'll maybe rely on Greg a little bit more heavily. So. The first thing we're going to talk about is some of the new things that are in GCC. As there's a few of us who are joining this meeting that are actually in a commercial tenant. However, the vast majority are in GCC, the Government Community Cloud, which is the government version of Office 365. And features come to GCC typically later than they come to the commercial O365 tenants. And so this link right here, sorry, had a hard time finding the word. This leads to a features guide specifically for GCC And then if I scoot over a little bit, then this is the link to the team's roadmap that is filtered down just for GCC environments. And so this will really show you what is on the roadmap, as well as what has been released. And this is a labor of love from one of my peers. Actually, this is an older screen capture. This was last updated on, I believe it was the 14th of November. And so we really try to keep this up to date because it is really challenging to know what's coming and when. And it also has additional details, including things like the message center post for those of you who are administrators, and sometimes additional links to go and learn more about a particular feature. So with that, let's dig into some of the new announcements. We've made some significant enhancements over the last year to breakout rooms. And I really love the fact that we can now set up the breakout rooms ahead of time. We can create multiple breakout rooms. We have the ability to do things like set timers in the rooms. And so one of the areas that was always challenging is that only the organizer had the ability to do all of these things. And so what we are adding now is that people that you add to your meeting in the presenter role versus the attendee role will also be able to assist with the breakout rooms. And so this is going to give you the ability to have some helpers in your meeting that can do all of these things. So assign users to rooms, add or delete rooms, open and close rooms, reassign users, send announcements into the rooms. You can, if a room gets deleted and you need to recreate the rooms, you can do that. Set timers on the rooms and then adjust other breakout room settings. So this is only going to be available in the desktop version, and I think most of us are on PCs. I apologize, I don't know if this is going to be on Mac. If I move over a little bit, this is already released. It released in early November, and so it's going to be, I think, a real benefit. The other thing that is coming, and I don't think it's included with this release, is that we are now allowing to have multiple organizers. And so you're actually going to be able to, if you schedule a meeting, you can add other people to be an organizer. And that will mean that if you have someone, like maybe you have a central administrator who is creating the meetings, but they're not the one that's going to run the meeting, you'll now be able to assign additional organizers, and then you can have presenters to support you in the breakout room. So we're making it so it's easier to scale the use of Teams for more purposes and bigger organizations, and just a little bit more distributed use. So I think that's going to be really helpful. The large gallery. So large gallery is when you have a 7x7 view of the video. And so what you're now going to have is that when you have more than 49 people on video, which really doesn't happen that often, you are going to have a little arrow down here at the bottom so that you can flip between the screens of 49 people on each screen. So you can have up to 98 videos by choosing large gallery and then going to use those arrows. There are, for my Teams client, in my upper left-hand corner, I actually have a little square that says change your view. Someone who is in Government Cloud, which is most of you, do you have a little square in the upper left-hand corner that allows you to change your view? If you drop down, it says gallery, together mode, gallery at the top, focus on content. Do y'all see that?
No, I just have the ellipsis.
Okay, that's going to be coming, and so it's easier to switch between, instead of having the ellipse where you drop down, or the ellipsis, and that's where you pick which view you have. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll have a little dedicated icon for changing your view, which I think is good. It's a little bit easier. Okay, so Sharon sees it. Yep, Greg, thanks for the screen capture there. Yeah, that's what it's going to look like. It may be rolling out as just it takes a while for some of these updates to roll out, or it may be something that just hasn't quite hit GCC. And Sharon, which organization are you with? If you can just pop that in the chat, so you see the gallery view. 3,500 tasks at once. I'm reading Shar's question. Any thoughts on when we might get more than 2,400? That's a great question, Shar. I don't know the answer to that, and I can find out. Okay, so Sharon is DIR, so y'all are in a GCC tenant, and Erin, of course, she's with HHS, and they're in a commercial sector tenant. So, all right, interesting. So, just we're continuously, as more capabilities are added into Teams, we need to find new ways to make it easy to use the features that are available, and so that's why you see these menu items shifting around and different places for things. Oh, sorry, Aaron. No, I said Sharon. Yeah. So these are things that, actually, this one is not. This is a capability called Present to Teams from PowerPoint for Windows. And what this is the way it works is if you are joined into a Teams meeting and you already have a PowerPoint deck open, then you can, right here in PowerPoint, click on Present to Teams, and it will go into your Teams meeting and will open up the PowerPoint deck and put it into presentation mode using this PowerPoint Live capability. And so it's just an entry point. Instead of having to go into the meeting and then do the drop down under the share and pick your PowerPoint, you can just go straight to it from PowerPoint, just making it a little easier. This is only available in the client at this point. In the future, we will be releasing it so that you can actually do that from Teams, I'm sorry, for PowerPoint for the web, PowerPoint web version. Now, these are things, this is the one that I had actually already showcased last time, but since we were on the topic of Teams, I wanted to, of PowerPoint, I wanted to add this. There's a translate feature that is now available in PowerPoint Live. If someone could confirm, are you seeing the translate capability down at the bottom of the slide? Yeah, Pamela, some people are having that problem where it's not the whole screen. What they were able to do is leave the meeting and then come back in.
Okay, I tried that. I'll try it again.
Okay, sorry about that. I think where this is happening is depending on what version of the Teams client you're on, I think it may get a little wonky. Okay, so you see, Teresa, you see see it from the ellipses. Okay, again, interesting. As we add features, we kind of put things in different places. And so the translate capability gives you the ability when you are looking at a slide that is presented specifically in PowerPoint Live to translate the words on the slide into a different language. One of my customers does a lot of cross-border meetings, and so this would be great for them. If they had a context or content-heavy slide, they could actually have it translated because the people on the other end of the phone call do not speak English. And so they are actually, one of their employees is really good at Spanish and English and is literally translating during the meeting. So it takes about twice as long as the gentleman goes back and forth translating. And so this could be a way that you could get around that. Now we're also adding in what's called CART features, C-A-R-T. And so we have CART providers that are part of that, and what they do is they provide translation services. And so you can now add translation services into a meeting. And so you have to have a contract or a relationship, a business relationship with the third party. And they're what are called CART, C-A-R-T providers. And so you add them, and it's a very easy process of sending them the URL for your meeting. They join the meeting, and then they can provide the translation services in the meeting. And so that can be the text translation into any number of languages. And so that can be another way to provide a more inclusive meeting if you have people who have different languages. Let's see. Okay. Andra, I'm glad you're seeing it correctly. Again, I think we're just getting a glitch between the versions of Teams, and we tend to get earlier releases. I don't get in on the really early releases of Teams inside of Microsoft because I want, it's buggy because they're not fully released. But sometimes everything doesn't work perfectly between my version and your version. This is the new presenter modes, and so I'm showing the version where I'm actually in front of the slides. In PowerPoint Live, which is what I'm using here, when you are presenting, if I was just presenting to commercial sector customers, I would have 4 options for where I position myself. This is the one where I'm overlaid, and then you can put one where you're next to the content, or you're here and the content is up and over your left shoulder. When we present between clouds, so I'm in a commercial sector Office 365 tenant, and a lot of you are in GCC tenants, then not all of these capabilities work in what we call a cross cloud. And so just know if you're presenting and you're presenting to people who are not in a government sector Office 365 tenant, there may be some features that don't quite work. Okay, you don't see me. Okay, so again, I think that's Andres not seeing me on the screen. It's just one of those little glitchy things. Okay, so this is some updated guidance on when to use Teams meetings and when to use live events and when to use the new webinar capability. So Teams meetings are really great for this kind of a collaborative experience. They go up to 1,000 participants, and with capabilities, we can do things like when we set up the meeting, we can go in and we can hard mute the attendees. That means that the attendees are not able to come off of mute. Now, I can go up here to the top, up to the ellipses, and I can say mute all. Actually, it's not, yeah, there it is. It's actually under, things keep moving around. And so I think it's actually under, yeah, if I click on the attendees link, then I have the ability under the participants and I do the drop down. It's not there either. There's a place where you can mute all, but you also have the ability to hard mute, which means that they are not able to come off of mute. And you also have the ability to prevent people from turning on their camera. And so there's a lot more granular control over the meeting. But those meetings, if you go over 1,000 participants, then the additional attendees go into a kind of a spillover view only mode. And what that means is they're not able to participate in the chat. They're just listening. And so it is somewhat like a live event experience. The live events are more tailored to kind of town hall meetings where you have someone that's presenting, but the other people are not interacting. The only way in a live event for your audience to interact with the presenter is through what we call a moderated Q&A. So it's not like a chat where here, whatever someone types into the chat, everybody sees. In a moderated Q&A, the moderators will see the question, and then they can either answer the question directly back to the individual, or they can publish the question so that everybody can see it. So that's the primary difference between a live event and a Teams meeting. The other thing about a live event is that there's a delay because it uses a content delivery network to stream it out to so many participants, and it goes up to 20,000 participants up until the end of December. The regular limit is only 10,000, but during the pandemic, we've increased it to 20,000. And so, yeah, so Shar, good question, and you know where I'm going. And so the live events have a 20-second delay or a 30-second delay between what the presenter is saying and when it gets to the audience. And so you can't really do real-time interactions even with the chat. And so we use our Teams meetings for that. But as Shar made a reference to, we have this new type of meeting. There's a regular Teams meeting, and then there's a live event, but there's a third type of meeting called a webinar. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop presenting real quick here, and I'm going to go to, I'm just going to share my screen. And I want to show you some of the capabilities in this new type of meeting. And so what we're going to do is, this is my calendar, and I'm just going to go and I'm going to schedule a webinar. Let's see, it says couldn't update my registration requirements. So let me try that again. Let me try it here. All right. I was having this problem just a little while ago, so let me.
Look, even the technology guys can have problems too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let me go back to calendar. We'll see if it's going to work this time. If not, I'll just tell you about it. But it's cool if I can show you. Okay. Something wrong in the matrix. All right, so what I was going to show you, actually, there's two ways to skin this cat. So, okay, I will use this meeting here. I'm going to invite Greg to this meeting, Greg Stevens. And once I have invited somebody to the meeting, Greg, you do not need to attend open enrollment with me this evening. Once you have set up a meeting, then you get this plus sign right here. And if you click on that, one of the things that we can add right now, it's been released to commercial, it's in preview, is Q&A. And so this is a meeting add-in. And so meeting add-ins need to be approved by your administrators, by your IT group. And once you add the Q&A into a Teams meeting, it adds a moderated chat, a moderated Q&A into the meeting. And so once I click save here, then when I start that meeting, and I can't start it or it'll put you all on hold, but what you'll see is you have questions that are asked, and the questions go into review, which is the first state, and the moderators will see the question, and then they can publish the question so that everybody sees it, or they can answer it in just private mode so everybody doesn't see it, or they can dismiss the question. So, maybe it's something that they were just making, a comment, hey, this is great. Then you can dismiss that so that it's not in your queue of questions that you're trying to address. And so now that we have the ability to have multiple people helping us in a meeting, then you're going to be able to have multiple moderators in a Teams meeting. Now, the way that you would use this is you would go into your meeting options and you would turn off the chat. And so let me close this. So let me see if I can do it from here, because I'm kind of messing with this meeting by adding Greg and all that stuff. So when you go into to meeting options, then you're able to, let's see, I don't have another meeting here that I own that I can go in and turn that off. But with the new meeting types, actually I can do it here. Give me 1 second, I'll bring this over onto the screen. Okay, so I'll just call this test meeting. Are y'all seeing my screen in this test meeting invite?
Yes, we are. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, and I'm going to make it a Teams meeting. And you're going to see a few additional capabilities in here. Let me bring this screen over here. So there's this is the stuff that's already been here, the lobby, and you can, who can bypass the lobby, so you can set it to everyone, which is what I do for our Teams meeting, so that everybody that gets stuck in the meeting. You're also going to have this ability, as I spoke about earlier, to choose co-organizers. And so co-organizers are people who are also going to be in the organization, the role of an organizer, so that they can help you in the meeting and have all these capabilities. This isn't just the one thing where you can have additional presenters help you with breakout rooms. This is actually having co-organizers. This will be coming out to GCC, whereas the presenters helping with breakout rooms is currently out in GCC. So what I would do here is I would pick people who are in the meeting that I want to have as a co-organizer, and then you can say who can present, and you can just say specific people, people in my organization and guests, only me and co-organizers again, so that would include Greg that I just promoted to a co-organizer, or everyone. Now, here are some of these granular controls. This allow mic for attendees. If I turn this off, that means that everybody in the meeting is hard muted. If I turn off the allow camera for attendees, they can't turn on their camera. And so if you want to have a controlled meeting where maybe one of your commissioner is presenting to an all hands, or just something where you just don't want to have the possibility of someone accidentally coming off mute or turning on their camera, these are things that you can do. Now here is that cart capability, so the cart captions. So if you enable this in the meeting, and you have to enable it at the time of the meeting in the options here, then it's going to give you a URL that you would provide to your cart caption provider. And then this allow reactions gives you the ability to turn off reactions so that people can't do hearts and claps and things like that. Maybe you have somebody in your organization, one of your leaders, who hates that kind of thing, and so you can turn that off. Something I skipped past is this record automatically. You can turn that on, and right when the meeting starts, it will start recording. But if someone joins the meeting 10 minutes early, it will start the recording 10 minutes early, and so then you have to edit that. Now this allow meeting chat right here, this is what I was talking about. You can disable the chat during the meeting, which will then keep the chat from being there, but then you can use that moderated Q&A.
Hey, Michael.
Yes.
Jose's got his hand up.
Oh,
I
thank you.
didn't know if you were in the middle of. I hope you were taking a breath, Jose. What you got?
Thank you.
Hey, Mike. So
Yeah.
this might already be common knowledge, but one thing I learned this week when I was helping someone is that on the who can present, if you send a meeting invitation to the distribution list, it does not recognize anyone when you try to type the name of a person, when you try to specify a person.
In this section here, so if I invited, let me move this over.
Yeah, instead of Greg, if you would done like everyone here that's part of the DL.
Yeah.
And then when you click who can present everyone and change it to a specific people, you will not find anyone's name there.
Okay, like right here, this is Sete Sium's organization.
Yeah.
And then I go into the meeting options. Pull those back over here.
And change the everyone to specific people.
Yep.
I might not allow you to do because you haven't sent invitation, but when you search for participants, it doesn't show the person from that DL.
Okay, that's really good to know. Thank you. Yep, you're right. Okay, so well, and Greg already put in there, so.
Jose, is it a DL or a mail-enabled security group?
It was a DL.
Try it with the security group, see if it makes a difference.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's 500 people. It was a whole agency. We were trying to send an email out to a whole agency. So
that's really good to know. So you would need to then add those people in one by one, and then add everybody else.
Yes, we ended up doing that way. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Or just wait for the meeting to start and just make everyone attendees and add those people as presenters.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Jose. That's a really good tip.
So, Michael, what I guess I'm hearing this saying is that in the choose organizer, if I used a DL, I can't use my regular email group in that choose a co-organizer.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So if you have this group that you always send it out to, then you.
Well, I don't know about the organizer because we don't have that option yet, the co-organizer. But I know for the presenter, if you use a DL, you cannot choose a specific person.
Oh, okay.
It also may make a difference whether it's a global DL or if it's a personal one in your own address book. Those things tend to behave differently.
Well, our DLs are all in the cloud. We don't have Exchange on-prem, so all the DLs we create are on the cloud. So.
Okay.
So I think in that instance, what you would want to do is still add your distribution list to the, your attendees. That way everyone still gets that invite, but then you're also going to need to put the individual names that you want presenting on that list as well. So as Michael has a Sete's organization on there, he could put a few key individuals from a Sete's organization that he would like to present. Mm-hmm. That way he can select them as people that can still present.
Another caveat is you're correct. Put them on the required, but if you put it on the optional, it still doesn't work.
Okay, interesting. Yeah,
they have to be on the required.
Yeah, those are good tips. Thank you. It's all these little things. When you use this thing day in, day out, then you learn these things. So thank you. Okay, so let me go back to Teams here. Okay. And stop sharing like that. Give me a second for PowerPoint Live to start back up. Okay. And so I did have a customer this week. It was the first time that someone had asked me for an overview on Teams live events. And so, live events are still a very viable option until you get this moderated chat capability. But if you're wanting the ultimate in scalability, so up to 10,000 simultaneous attendees, then live events are still there. There's no additional cost. It's included. But now you have the option of Teams meetings, webinars, or live events. Okay, so Keith, are you getting a weird view again? Okay.
Yeah, and it looks like some other folks are getting it too.
Yeah, I'm going to stop and I'm going to go back to old school and just share my screen. and I will fire up PowerPoint. Okay.
I thought that was my machine that was doing that. That was weird.
Yeah, it seems particularly glitchy today. But then we got a lot of people and a lot of different tenants. Okay, let me switch the display settings. Okay, here we go. Now, are y'all seeing Windows native notifications in GCC?
Yes,
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. All right. So you have different ways that you can be notified. And if notifications drive you crazy, there's some great videos that are really short on YouTube about how to manage notifications. But there's a new capability so that instead of getting Teams pop-ups, it will use your default Windows notifications, so that your pop-ups will come from Windows notifications. Doesn't seem like that big a deal to me, but for some people it might be really important. And so there you go. There you have it. And that was released back at the end of October. Now this one is really cool. This is what's called Advanced Threat Protection, or ATP, safe links. And so what that means is that now when someone puts a link in a chat, when you click the link, what's it going to do is Microsoft is going to go in and it's going to check that link before we actually take you to that website. We're going to check and make sure that it's not a malicious site. We're going to show you something that this kind of alert right here, that if this is a known dangerous site, then we're going to warn you about that. And you can go back or you can continue anyway, not recommended. And so this is part of Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection. So that is coming now to GCC inside of Teams. Okay, this is a bit of an eye chart. I wanted to include it because I'll send you all these slides. This is really for the administrators who are in our audience here. And let me flip over here. What we've done is we've done some reorganization. This is the Microsoft Teams Admin Center. So if you're not an administrator, you probably don't care about this. You've never been in here. What we've done is we have grouped differently some of the areas where we do settings. And so for Teams, all of the settings for Teams are now under this one category here under Teams. And Teams update policies are here, and upgrade settings, which weren't there before. We have the same thing now for users, and guest access and external access, which used to be in Azure Active Directory, are now over here inside of Teams. So, which is a spot where it makes a lot more sense. And so if you click on guest access, then you have the ability to turn on or turn off guest access in Teams. And so I have it turned on in this demo tenant. The Teams devices has new capabilities for managing Teams rooms on Windows and on Android, panels, phones, displays. We have new management organization around Teams apps. And then if you go down to analytics and reports, let me close a few of these just to get a little bit of screen real estate back. Okay. Then you have your usage reports and your reporting usage reports, which is what we used to have under here. And so you can select different types of reports to view. We also have reporting labels. And so this is so that you can label an IP subnet. And then we also have a link right here now to the call quality dashboard. And the call quality dashboard, if you haven't used it, gives you the ability to examine the quality that your users are experiencing, whether that is overall call quality, server client, client, voice quality, according to an SLA. So a lot of really rich reports, and this is just the summary report, but there's a whole slew of reports that are here and are available that can give you a lot of detailed information on what's going on inside your environment. We also have Power BI templates that you can download that can give you very detailed usage metrics as well as quality metrics on what your users are experiencing, all the way down to they're using this video camera with this driver, and we're seeing a lot of people that have that video camera that was maybe one we issued are having the same problem, then you can push out a new driver for that and fix the problem. So lots of good insight for admins, and it's just being reorganized with this new release. So the next time you need to go do something, it might take you a little while to find it, because it did for me when I was playing around with it. Another thing that we are making an improvement to is what we call the network planner. And so again, if you're a networking person, then this is something that you might care about, and you can go and you can read about this. And so network planner gives you the ability to take a look at your segments and usage patterns, and really help to plan your organization and your rollout a little better. As we have people returning from working from home, or we go into a hybrid work scenario, you might have more people hitting your networks in your buildings that haven't been there for a long time. So this can help you plan that out in advance. Okay, quite a few things that just released. Keep me a little step here. So let's move on to, well, let me pause there for a second. Any questions about things that have just released? I can't see the chat window right now, so
chat's pretty clear right now.
Okay, great. Let me I'll move this over to this other window so that I can see it. If y'all will just let me know if something pops up on the chat, I'd appreciate it, or somebody raises their hand. Okay, so we had this Ignite conference, and we had a lot of announcements about.
Hold on, Mike. Sorry. Yeah. Got one hand that jumped up. Andre?
Perfect.
Yes, I was just going over that dashboard quality that you're just demonstrating. Mm-hmm. There's like an update for building statistics. Is there any documentation on that?
Yeah, there's some really good documents. If you look at the let me go back to that real quick. Give me 1 second. Yeah, right here with this upload now. If you click on this, then what you're able to do, and let me see if it actually has a link to, okay, this is called the building upload file. The reason this is important is that when you add this building upload file, building upload data file, this you go in and you it's a spreadsheet that you download, and then once you have it, then you fill it out, and when you upload it, it identifies these network segments, these IP address ranges are in this building. And so then when you go into the call quality, you can actually see what building people are in or what location they're in. This isn't really meant for like everybody's homes. This is meant for your buildings where you have a concentration and you control the subnets for a particular floor or a building. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Perfect. I'm going to send you a link to this. Let me just drop that in the chat real quick here. I'll send you a link to that web page. But it's not a complex form, but it does make a huge difference in your ability to diagnose problems that are going on in your network. Great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So at Ignite, we had all these announcements, and we had all these announcements across a huge variety of basically every aspect of Microsoft and our cloud offerings, our on-prem offerings, everything had announcements. And so this Microsoft Ignite Book of News, which I'm going to have the link right here for you, and you'll get the PDF of this. The Book of News, and let me see if I can't, no, sorry. I can't just copy this, but I'll drop it into the chat. This Book of News is a page that I'll bring up now. Give me 1 second to find the right window. Here we go. And the best way to use this is when you go here, and I'll drop the link to it in the chat.
I got you covered, Michael.
Thanks, sir. Is go to the table of contents, and then there's, as I said, there's Azure, there's business applications with Dynamics 365, industry clouds, and then you have this whole section down here on Microsoft Teams. And so the Book of News is a more text-based version of these announcements and really lets you know what has been added, as I said, in more of like a text form versus a bunch of images. And so the other link that I put on this slide for you is a web page that also has a lot of these announcements, but it's a much more graphical view of these announcements. And so let's take a look at some of the things that have been added to, that are going to be added to Teams in the future. So there's again, some of these, and you'll see right here, this feature will be available in preview in early 2022. It might be in preview in early 2022 for GCC. It may take a little bit longer. Again, apologies, we're doing what we are really pushing hard on our engineering team, and they're trying to do simultaneous releases. Sometimes it just doesn't work that way because of restrictions as far as certifications for the different clouds go. But we're going to have, again, more control in these meetings, as we've talked about. One of those things is a virtual green room. So prior to a meeting, if you have your presenters that are joining, they can actually go into this virtual green room. And this is in a Teams meeting, not in a live event. And they can meet in there, and then you'll be able to start the meeting much like you can right now with a live event. And so you can see there's 1,504 people that are waiting. You have all these icons that you are going to have that you're used to through a Teams meeting, but this will it'll be a regular meeting. The next thing is the ability, again, in highly structured meetings to manage what attendees see. So this can really minimize distractions. We already have the ability to control the chat, the ability to control people coming off mute and the cameras, but you can really control who is seeing what and when as a producer of the meeting. Very similar to what we had in live events, and kind of where this is headed. We're not really continuing to do a lot of iteration on live events as our primary meeting or as one of our meeting tools. Instead, we are adding these capabilities straight into Teams. And so what you're going to see is some of the capabilities you're familiar with in live events will be coming to Teams, and then additional capabilities which we don't have at all inside of live events and this easier user interface are going to be added to Teams. Like the co-organizer feature that we spoke about, the Q&A experience that we spoke about with the moderated chat. So again, additional capabilities in the meeting itself. And then if you're wanting to, we produce really highly produced events with multiple screens. It really looks like a television studio produced it. You can produce that using Teams, and so we're going to have this new ability to have isolated audio feeds, and so each audio will be its individual feed, and so you can bring audio levels up and down, and so it's going to be a lot more capability for those who are really into highly produced meetings. Now, one of my customers, one of y'all that are out there, they use an organization called Cvent to manage their large-scale public-facing meetings. Cvent is a producer of events, and they can do all kinds of things around the event. And they can do, if you were having a big event like a South by Southwest all digital, then they could help you with that. Well, before they only were using WebEx or Zoom as a technology platform for those meetings. Well, they are now integrating with Teams, so that'll be in early 2022, and that's a service offering from a third-party provider, so that will be in early 2022, whether you're in GCC or not. And so I was really glad to see them added as an option. And I think that's just really kind of a testament. There's so many people using Teams now that they thought it was a good idea to go ahead and add that. Now, shared channels and chat within Teams is a really cool new feature. One of the challenges that we have is you have a team, meaning a Microsoft Teams team. Sorry, that's confusing. And you have a channel, but maybe you want to bring another organization, like another agency, in to collaborate on a channel. Where you can't do that unless you go and unless external sites are enabled first, and then guests are enabled, and then you invite external parties, and then you set up a special team for this external collaboration. What shared channels is going to give you the ability to do, and you can see this little icon right here Let me zoom in on that a little bit if I can. No, I can't. What we're going to have the ability to do now is to invite people from another organization and add another organization into what's called a shared channel. And so it is exactly what it sounds like. Now, just because you have a shared channel here doesn't mean that they can have access to everything else. And so it's kind of like a private channel, except it's for external parties. Any questions about that? All right.
Yep.
Another thing that we're going to be making easier is the ability to add people into chats that are not in your organization. And so right now, if you're adding someone with a Hotmail or a Gmail, someone that is using Teams, but they're not using it through a large organization, but they just have a personal subscription, or they're using the free version of Teams, that doesn't really work very well right now. And so what we're going to be able to do in the future is you can actually find somebody using their telephone number, if they have that registered with Teams. You can, it's sort of like, when you sign up in Uber and you sign up with your telephone number, not your email address. And so this way you can find somebody and you can add them into a chat that is outside of your organization. So this could be really helpful in scenarios where you are collaborating with your citizens, and maybe you have a solution that you've built that is based on really working with your constituents. This can really help with that. Let's see here. Oh yeah, this is great. So this is a personal chat. And so this is a chat for you to chat with yourself. It doesn't mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean you're weird. This is a place where you can post messages, you can upload files, you can set just like little anecdotes for yourself. If someone has a great link, then you can pop a link in there. And then of course you can search across it. But instead of having to go over and drop it into OneNote or something else, this will be your own little place where you can keep things. So I thought that was kind of cool. I actually had my own team for myself so that I could do this, but now it's just one of the capabilities that are going to be native in the client. If you have heavy usage of chat, what you might find is that you can't really see that much chat on a screen at one time. And so what this is going to have, it's going to have a compact view so that you can really squish down and so you can see a lot more of the chat on one screen. Now it does away with some of the things like this indentation over here so that you can see which are yours and which are other people's, but it does give you a compact view. So for some people that'll be great. And then we are also, you have GIFs and different ways you can express yourself. There are, when you hover over a message and you get those 6 little icons that you can put on there, we're going to have over 800 now. And so, which I think is crazy, but that's a lot. But there are 800 3D emojis that you're going to be able to have now. So you'll be able to definitely be a lot more expressive in what's going on for you. Let's see here. The next thing, I got a message from one of my customers just a little while ago at 3:38 in the morning. I was like, oh my goodness, does the man never sleep? And so maybe he just woke up in the middle of the night. I don't know. But if you don't want to let your boss know or whoever know that you were sending that message at 3:38 in the morning, then you can actually schedule the time when that message gets sent. And you can do that out of respect because you're working with someone on the other side of the planet and you want to not have their phone lighting up if they don't put it on mute at night. Or you can do it for a variety of reasons. And so this is just a nice way to, again, create boundaries, create respect for people's work-life balance and their time at home. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing. Let's see. Yeah, it says a user's time zone can be found in their contact card in Teams. So that'll kind of let you know where you would find that. And then we're also adding some enhancements to be able to bring in information from other applications. And so these are going to be things like Dynamics 365. We have third-party organizations like SAP and Atlassian that are going to be able to pull information right into Teams. Some of you might have heard about things called, sorry, let me take a breath.
Yeah, and real quick too, there's 2 questions in the chat room.
Perfect. Let's have those. Sorry, I was on a roll.
Do you still need to open up SharePoint for external access if we want to use those shared channels? And Jose, you might want to just come off the mic and you, instead of me, try to read these things.
Sorry. Yeah, when you were showing the shared channels, do you still need to open up SharePoint though?
You know, it's a great question, Jose. I don't know the answer to that, and so it hasn't been released yet, and so we'll see.
Okay.
It's a good question, and it might be something you could Google, but it's probably not out there yet because it's still in development.
And the last question was, I was going to say, the reply to a specific message, is that coming to GCC?
Yes. So the ability.
That was going to come last October, and it never arrived on our tenant.
And that's interesting. So when you were, let me come over to, where's my team? So here we go. I got a lot of windows open. Sorry, y'all. Okay, here we go. So when you're in a chat, let's see here. I'll open up this chat with Greg. You're not able to right-click on it and say reply, or if there's a whole bunch of people in here, you can't click on it and reply so that you're replying like that?
Correct. Yeah, we don't have that option yet. And I thought it was coming in October, but it never arrived. So
October was supposed to come out October of this year?
Yeah.
Okay. Do me a favor.
At least that's what I remember reading. Maybe I got the date wrong, but that's one thing. Right now, I had to take a screenshot of the chat I'm referring to and then paste it as a picture. And so.
Right. Yeah. Total hassle. I don't know the answer to that, but it's a good question, Jose. And let me find out if you don't mind, or Greg, if you don't mind looking on that GCC. Let me see here.
We don't have that feature either at Parks and Wildlife.
Okay, I think it just must have gotten delayed.
We've been ever since the announcement that, because I think it was on either the blog or the or the message center. I told a group that Andrew's a part of, hey, this is supposed to be coming, and we've been looking at the ellipses like almost daily, and nope, still not here.
Okay.
And I'm not seeing it on ours either, Michael.
Thank you all for letting me know. I thought that had already rolled out because it was supposed to have, and so instead of trying to find this, I don't think I can do a Control F on this screen. Let me see. Reply. This is the benefit of this this document, this feature guide, because it will be in here, and the way that this thing is divided up is shipped to GCC 2021 in Q4. Now, on the first page are links to the Q3 and the Q2 feature guide. So I bet you this thing is really long, so I won't go all the way through. It's 101 pages long, but I'll bet you that reply question is in there. And so there is a...
And it looks like there's a few agencies that are saying it is working there. I looked on the public-facing roadmap, and it looks like that was GA September 2021. So
then what I would do, so for Star and Jose, I'd maybe put in a trouble ticket. I know if it's out, and Philip, thanks. UT has a I can't remember if y'all are in a commercial tenant or an education tenant. I think you're probably in an EDU tenant. But let's see, we don't have that either. Okay, at DPS. Okay, it sounds like it. One or two things. It's either still rolling out, or it's just broken in your tenant. And sometimes you just put in a trouble ticket, and someone goes in there and they're like, "Oh, I see," and then they run some script, and then it works. So.
Michael, is that a thing that could be hey, somebody forgot to click a button on the setup on the admin side?
I don't think so. I think that is something that some updates are off by default and some are on by default. That would be one I would think would be on by default.
Okay.
Let's see, the only thing to do, I'll do this over here on the side. I'm going to kind of try to multitask here, which could be ugly. So this is that that document, the adoption guide, and I put the link to it in the chat. Okay, oh yeah, we were looking at this page. You were looking at that reply capability. So a lot of development has been done over the last several years with regard to making Office more open so that the capabilities that are in one application, like Teams or Excel or Word or PowerPoint, are actually kind of individual, like encapsulated bits of functionality and code, so that those things can then be plopped into a different application. And you may have seen an announcement, and I probably talked about it, I may have talked about it back in March. We talked about this thing called fluid components. And fluid components are the ability to add something into one application and then have it exist in multiple other locations. And so I want to give you, we're going to do a little bit of a demo. It's going to be a bit of a lame demo, but then I'm going to show you where we're headed with this. An example of fluid component, this is a chat that I set up with Greg and with Ray and with another friend, Grant Oliasani. And if you look down here, there's this little icon right here that says Insert Live Component. So we haven't completely finished up with all the branding around this. And so what a live or fluid component, or where we're headed with it, is a loop component, L-O-O-P, is it gives you the ability to add something. In fact, let me get rid of that one, and I'm going to have a little fun with this. I'm going to discard this one, and I'm going to make a table, and I'll make it 3 by this, and I'll say best barbecue in Texas, and then I'll come down here and I'll say name, location, and best meat. Okay, so, and then what happens here is I can work on this table, but so can Greg, and so can all of the other people in this chat. And so let me go ahead and click send, and I'm going to send this component. Okay, now that I've sent it, you'll see that Greg's here and Ray is here. And oh, Franklin's, huh? Come on, man, you got to wait in line. All right, so I'm going to say Salt Lake. Actually, I am going to say county line, and I'm going to say on 2222, and I'm going to say the chicken. I think their chicken is absolutely fantastic. So what you're seeing here is the ability to have multiple people. It's like co-authoring on a document. So it doesn't kind of feel like that big of a deal, except I can take this to the next level in that you can see where everybody is working. So we got Grant here. We got, well, there's Grant. Who's Joe? That's Greg. And we got Ray over here. Now I can take this and I can copy it. And in the future, I will be able to paste this into other places. Like I'll be able to paste this into a Word document. I'll be able to put it into an email. I'll be able to put it into a SharePoint page. And the content will still be connected back to the source content. And anybody that makes edits, it will be updated. So imagine a scenario where you're working on a presentation and you need to have the latest content in the presentation. Well, if you have a table that is in that presentation that you're getting frequently updated, then anytime that presentation is open, it will always have the latest information in there. Style switch. Yeah, that's good turkey. You're right. So where we're going with this is the ability to embed different pieces of functionality from different applications into different user interfaces, which brings me to one of the major announcements. my slide to advance. A second here. All right, PowerPoint seems to be not wanting to participate with me here. Are y'all still there?
We're here.
Okay.
Yep.
I wasn't sure about
Did I
how
lose everybody? I don't know.
I wasn't sure how badly I was flailing at that point. All right, let me do this. Let me close out of PowerPoint, and I will. Oh yeah, it's like really. I'm going to Control Alt Delete PowerPoint. Okay. Actually, instead of just going to that, I'll open that PowerPoint and get it open up in the background. I'm going to show you a new application that we are releasing that is called Microsoft Loop. And the video I'm going to show you is a 100% marketing video that is going to make almost no sense whatsoever. And then we're going to talk about what we saw. Okay, it's 1 minute long. So let me make sure. I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick, and I'm going to start sharing again. And I'll make sure that I have the audio turned on. Okay. Okay. Here it goes. Can y'all hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I don't know about you, but the first time I saw that, I was like, what? I have no idea what I was just seeing. So what Loop is, and I think this is, I mean, it's a real application that we will be releasing next year. It is a culmination of a lot of work that is going to show up in a lot of different places. So it'll show up in Word, it'll show up in Teams, it'll show up in email. It will be an app that pulls all of these things together. So there's these three main elements to Loop, which are Loop components, which are like what we were showing just a little while ago, a table that can be edited, a task list. And there are Loop pages, so you can have a page. Think of that like a whiteboard. And so you have a whiteboard with a lot of different elements on it. And then Loop workspaces is like a collection of whiteboards that have all of these different Loop components and Loop pages. And so it's sort of like you got the little components, they go on a page, and those go inside of a workspace. So some of the things that we'll be able to do with this is like having a voting table. Like just then, I made just a regular table, and we started putting information in about what we thought was best. But if you look at this little kind of animated graphic here, when you add a voting table, you can actually vote on the table and make a list of pros and cons. And so this is not something where this is going to be an official document, but if you're working on a project or you're working on an initiative, this is going to be a really easy way to get a lot of people's input very quickly. That's not quite as heavy of a lift as co-authoring in a document, and is a lot more accessible. And the fact that you can see who all's in there and what they're editing and what they've put in, I think it's going to make it really fun. And as we're working hybrid and we're trying to be, more integrated with each other, I think these components are going to help us be more collaborative when we're not in the same place together, because I don't think we're ever going to go back to everybody being in the office together again. This is a status tracker, and so if you wanted to check the status of a particular work effort, you could use this loop component that's called a status tracker. And then let's see, this is, let's see, what do we got here? Okay, so this is actually where we're bringing in information from different systems like Dynamics 365 records or Atlassian. And so this is an example where we're actually pulling in information like this would be, let's see, where are we pulling in here? I think this is information from Dynamics 365 about a given opportunity that we're tracking. Or this could be, ServiceNow is one of our partners, and so you could actually have ServiceNow data that's right inside of a Teams chat, and you could see the latest status on that. So again, it's out there a little bit, but if you start thinking about ways that you can collaborate more efficiently and effectively, these components, these loop components or fluid components are going to be really powerful. And then when you start putting multiple components, like this is a text component, up here is like the little whiteboard tiles component, you can put multiple of these together on a page and you can have a bunch of people that are working together. And there's just, I think it'll be really fun. It's a little bit silly. And so, some organizations, this might not be their culture or their style. And then you take those pages, which have different loop components on them, and you can create a workspace where you have there's a Word documents and all different kinds of things. There's a PDF right here. So there's going to be the ability to have a whole collection of these different things all together. So how this is going to fit in with SharePoint and Whiteboard and OneNote and all of these other places where we keep things, I don't know. But I'll keep you posted as we move forward. So I think it's going to be certainly going to be some fun. So there are some other announcements here, but I want to switch over to something that is really something that we have not seen before. And let me go back into PowerPoint mode here. So if you really want to spend a lot of time watching that video, then I have a link to it in the PDF that I'll send out to you. So the metaverse. If you saw the announcement from Facebook around them rebranding their company Meta, and they are going to create this thing called the metaverse, which is going to be something like what we had in Ready Player One, where it's kind of this alternate reality that you can go to. If you haven't seen it, there is a super funny video from Iceland that was inspired by Iceland about Facebook's announcement about the metaverse. It's on YouTube. It's clean, but it is very snarky towards Facebook's metaverse in that Facebook wants to create this alternate reality where you go and you have a different version of yourself and you kind of can have all these experiences, which is really cool. But our vision for the metaverse is a place that we can come together, work together, come together, and experience being in the same place when we're not actually in the same place. And so when we think about what is the metaverse, it is a persistent, operative word, persistent digital world that is inhabited by digital twins of people, places, and things. And so I'm going to show you some videos, some short videos that are going to go into a little bit more detail on this. But if you think about the metaverse as a new version or a new vision of the internet, where people gather to communicate, collaborate, and share with a personal virtual presence on any device. And so if we kind of break that down, it's kind of like Teams in that we come together in teams and we meet. And you can have your video on, but that's you're on video. And so think about the ability to come together, and instead of it being you on video or just having your video off, if you actually had it so that you could have an avatar that attends a meeting. What we've shown is that we're more engaged when we have video on, but what we've also shown is that it is fatiguing on the brain to have the video turned on. So that's why we've created things like the together mode and other different views as opposed to 49 videos all on one screen, different views and interactions. This is sort of taking that to the next level. And so let's take a look here at what is the metaverse. And this is a video that I'm hoping is going to play. But my PowerPoint doesn't seem to like me very much right now. So let me do it this way. Well, my PowerPoint really doesn't like me because this is it is a video, but it is not working. So let me do this instead. Just bring up a browser. Okay, and okay. Okay.
Metaverse. You've probably started to hear this word being thrown around lately. If you're lost, you're in the right place. Here we'll try to answer some big questions from Microsoft's point of view. What is a metaverse? Does it already exist? And are you already in it? Let's dig in. Simply put, a metaverse is a digital space inhabited by digital representations of people, places, and things. Think of it like a new version, or maybe a new vision of the internet. Many people talk about the internet as a place. Now we can actually go into that place to communicate, share, and work with others. It's an internet that you can actually interact with, like we do in the physical world. And it's not just a vision anymore. Right now, you can go to a concert and experience a show with other real people inside a video game. You can walk a factory floor from your own home. You can join a meeting remotely, but be in the room to collaborate with your coworkers. Those are metaverses, and the future is already here. Now, I can already hear some skepticism, but an avatar of me isn't me. My digital self is not my physical self. Well, that is technically true, but Microsoft is working to help you better represent your whole self in the digital space, while also ensuring that you can bring your humanity and your agency over that representation with you. If the past few years have taught us anything, it's that we need that flexibility. The world has never been more connected, but lately, we've often needed to distance ourselves physically. The closer we can reflect our physical selves in the digital realm, the more these barriers we can break down. Teammates can join meetings from anywhere. Real-time translation allows people from diverse cultures to collaborate in real time. This is what takes this from a cool idea to a critical one. The metaverse has the ability to stretch us beyond the barriers and limitations of the physical world.
So pretty futuristic feeling stuff. And the really interesting part about that is that this is technology that's already working. And the one other thing that I'd like to show y'all is, let's see, give me 1 second here. Trying to find the short version. Oh, here we go. Never mind. Got it right here. So this is another short video. And this is going to go into how we're actually bringing this into Teams. And so
As the digital and physical worlds come together, we are creating an entirely new platform layer, which is the metaverse. In a sense, the metaverse enables us to embed computing into the real world and to embed the real world into computing, bringing real presence to any digital space. What's most important is that we are able to bring our humanity with us and choose how we want to experience this world and who we want to interact with. It's no longer just looking at a camera view of a factory floor. You can be on the floor. It's no longer just video conferencing with colleagues. You can be with them in the same room. Mesh for Microsoft Teams will allow you to connect with presence and have a shared immersive experience directly in Teams.
We've also created an incredible immersive space that's now seamlessly accessible directly through Teams.
So this is normally a lot longer video. This is the some leadership at Accenture talking about what they did. They've been working behind the scenes with Microsoft on the Mesh for Teams and a whole space that they've created for Accenture employees. And so that's what they're talking about.
Why don't we go check it out?
Here we are, Jason, and your avatar looks awesome. Something that I really like is how freely you can move around and have face-to-face conversations.
That's exactly right. We've held more than 100 team gatherings in these immersive spaces where people can connect, learn, and collaborate because they're truly in the same place together.
The solution has been a game changer for onboarding about 100,000 people a year. And like many organizations, onboarding has been remote for the past 18 months. So bringing our new hires into this immersive environment fosters immediate and deeper connections. It transcends physical boundaries and helps individuals experience a culture in a very personal way. Our new hires meet many more people and grow their professional network much faster.
In IT, we're thrilled how easily we could unlock Mesh's capabilities through Teams. The integration with Microsoft 365 makes everything feel familiar. But on top of that, spatial audio makes everything sound just like it would in person. And I love seeing and hearing our colleagues collaborating and whiteboarding and using this space for productivity.
This doesn't just feel real, it is real. It's been exciting to see an idea become a reality in such a short time, enabling presence and connection that transcends location, keeps our culture vibrant wherever we're working, and levels the playing field to create equal and inclusive experiences.
The metaverse is not just transforming how we see the world, it's changing how all of us actively participate in it. And we can't wait to see what you build and how you bring people together with this technology.
All right. Well, if that doesn't seem futuristic enough for you, then I don't know what does. Yeah, Star. I know that people see this at Ignite and wonder when it's coming. I really don't have a good answer for that. I wanted to let y'all know about this just so you can kind of start thinking about as you're, I know that some of us, they call it the great reshuffle, I think is what they call it, where 40% of people are leaving their jobs, and so we're going to be doing a lot of hiring and a lot of onboarding, and we're going to be potentially doing that for people that are remote. And it's just as Accenture said, they've been using this worldwide to onboard people. It's just I think it's gonna be a very different world that we're gonna get to experience in the I'm not talking 5 years out, I'm talking this year. We're gonna start seeing some of these experiences that are integrated into Teams. And again, I will keep you posted. This is something I'm highly interested in, this whole idea of the augmented reality. So I'll be nerdily following along and keeping y'all posted on when it's coming and what's available, and then what we can leverage inside of GCC and what we have available in different environments. So that's all I really had for today. Not that wasn't a lot. Are there any questions that that you guys want to? Oh, I had just a couple of slides. So Mesh is, it's Teams with avatars to start. Okay, so instead of coming and being on video, you could actually have your avatar attend the meeting. So you're there and you're sitting but your avatar is in the meeting for you. And it is not something you hook up to your face that does all your facial gestures. Right now, it's just listening to the audio cues and is moving your mouth and moving your head in a natural looking way, but it's not lip syncing. As we move forward and as we start integrating some of our AI technologies, it will get much more of a realistic feel for, if you're moving your hands, it's moving its hands. If the way you're moving your head, it'll move its head. But in the beginning, it's just it's not gonna be like that. And so I think it'll be a little disconcerting for some people, but could be really interesting for others. It is spaces that are persistent digital spaces. So Accenture built this environment. They call it the nth floor, like an N and then TH, the nth floor. And it is a space that they have that's in Alt VR, Alt Space VR, which is an alternate virtual reality space that Microsoft purchased and now owns. And so they created this space. And so what you see here is you actually see whiteboard there. And so these spaces can be decorated in a variety of different ways and can have different apps, like PowerPoint is on the wall here, Microsoft Edge is on the wall back here. And then you can have interactions with individuals. Here you can see that it's literally translating from Korean into English and back. And then you can have apps, which they showed. So they're using a digital whiteboard, but it's this huge whiteboard on the wall that the avatar is interacting with versus just a regular person. So again, pretty interesting things. Thoughts? What do y'all think? Yeah, Aaron, SharePoint Space is similar to this. I have not really explored much about SharePoint Space, but it is a SharePoint environment that is a virtual reality environment in a SharePoint environment. I just said everything I know about that.
I'm just trying to figure out when and where I'm going to buy my haptic suit.
Oh yeah, exactly. A bit spooky, yeah, right, Stephanie? It is.
You can put it off for a while since it's not syncing to your face. You could walk away from your desk and it would still look like you're attentive.
That's right. If you just had a headset on, then it would look like you're there. And I was listening in the longer videos. They really talk about, and in some of the articles I read, just talking about the kind of the level of exhaustion we feel being in meetings all day, every day. And I tend to be video on in my meetings, and one of my customers the other day was like, "Oh my God, you're always dressed, and you're in these meetings with your video on," and I like that, but it's tiring, Yeah. And so this could be an alternative way.
I'm still trying to think about it in a training aspect as a trainer in a classroom.
Yeah, that's your background, isn't it, Keith? Training?
Yep, that's my job.
Yeah, I mean, you think about people attending, and there was back in I can't remember how many months ago it was. It was at least, actually, it was in March of this past year. After Ignite, we announced Microsoft Mesh, which was the persistent spaces that now exist inside of this Teams mesh. And so it's persistent spaces that you could attend and go into either with a virtual reality headset. Mine's in my son's room, but that's like the kind that covers your whole face and you can't see anything. Or an augmented reality headset like the Microsoft HoloLens with a screen that you can see through, but your three-dimensional objects and your attendance into these virtual reality spaces, you're there, but you can also see what's in your natural world around you. But then you'll also be able to attend on a device like a Surface device or like an iPad, and you'll be able to see this augmented reality or virtual reality environment through the screen, but it won't be quite as immersive as having a headset on your head. So I would think from a training perspective, depending on what you're training on, it could be really powerful.
Yeah, it's got some potentials. It's just the old school classroom trainer in me wants to go, okay, hold on. What about being together with people? That's a good thing.
Yeah.
There's a positive with that, even though we're in a pandemic. And can we make it work? So yeah, it's a good food for thought right now. I'm also wondering too, Michael, about the data. I mean, the data that's needed to run that kind of thing, you know, that's I know just enough about IT to know that data equals dollars.
Yeah.
And that that could be a challenge.
Well, and one of the things about the announcement that we had around Mesh, Keith, was that Microsoft is going to host all of this in our cloud. And so you're not going to have the compute or the storage or any of those things. It will be, the environments will live there. And I mean, I guess if you uploaded tons of objects and tons of environments and those kinds of things, you would need to pay for some sort of storage. I don't know. These are all business models that will yet to be worked out. But hey, let me, out of respect for the fact it's 4:31, let me, we'll officially call the meeting to a close. And if anybody wants to stay on for a few minutes and just chat a little bit, then we can. But thank you, everybody, for attending, especially for it being an off cycle. And at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording and feel free to leave. And again, thanks for coming.